I welcome you all to Execute 4.0, and this is the second day. And today we are having with us our keynote speaker, our chief guest, Mr. Monce sir. Sir, thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you so much, Arnav. Just a quick shout out to the entire E-Cell DTU team. They've been working super hard on this and super excited and really looking forward to this.
Sir is a management specialist who has consulted entrepreneurs, business leaders from Harvard, University of Pennsylvania, Columbia, Cambridge, ISB, World Economic Forum, Young Global Leaders, Fortune 500 CEOs from IIMs, IITs, RECs, non-profit founders, and top-level management. His prior initiatives include heading the marketing and research function for the Indian Venture and Alternative Capital Association at the age of 24 years only. You can read more about his journey at monceabraham.com, and let us begin with the session. So, sir, thank you so much again for coming. We have a lot of participants here who are from the tech background, who are pursuing on the entrepreneurial journey. They want to build a startup of their own. Many of them also want to go into the management consulting field. So definitely you're one of the best people to have in here. So let's begin. So the first question which comes to everybody's mind when they are starting out, definitely in college, is that how can students transition from ideation to execution when starting their own venture?
Thank you, Arnav. First things first, it's really commendable that during your college years you're already exploring avenues in terms of startups, entrepreneurship, all these things. Let me tell you one thing: the earlier you start in terms of diving in and trying to understand the various components of company building, there's nothing like it. Definitely, time is on your side, which means that even if you were to really have a few strikes before you, strikeouts before you strike gold, that's also really good for you. So in terms of, really going from college to really setting up your business, right? The first things first is, be part of all the wonderful clubs, right? Like DTU has a wonderful entrepreneurship cell. So similarly, in your own institutions or seek outside, right? Try to really mingle with all the kind of different team players who could be part of your team, who currently have the mindset and are building their own skill sets, right? So someone would be working on the coding part of it, someone would be building skill sets in the marketing part of it, someone would be there in terms of figuring out the finance part of it. You might have a friend who's probably is skilling out on the legal side of it, right? So all the different components which go into really building a startup or a business, try to meet as many people, try to be part of as many avenues where you can really get exposure to all those things. And then the next thing is obviously if you feel that there's a problem that you spot early on, really going out and talking to a lot of people, see if you can build something which really solves the problem out there. And then the stage is really building an MVP and all those things, right? So first things first, ideas are great, theory is great, but before we even think of anything like, okay, we need a very fancy site, or we need a very fancy logo, or we need to create a very detailed full feature product, we don't really need that. The main thing is just going out and seeing if you can solve a few problems for the customers. Are they happy with it? Are they using it? Because most of the people, especially in India, they'll be super nice, right? So everyone says that we love what you're doing, this is great, keep going. But the only true thing is are they really using your product? If there's a payment related side to it, are they paying for it? Or have you optimized for getting advertisers on your site and all those things, the different revenue models and all those things, right? And then if you feel that this is something that is working for you, then getting on to the next stages in terms of really building out the product further, trying to get a entity in terms of transitioning from just a startup on paper to maybe even exploring how do you really set up a company and all those things. So that would be the starting stages. But again, wonderful to see the different kind of minds already applying themselves already in college.
Right, sir. So once we've got how we can begin building a startup, so could you walk us through the stages of a startup growth from idea to maturity to becoming a conglomerate, and highlight some common pitfalls that founders usually face?
Sure thing, yeah. So I would say don't be guided by whatever you see on TV that everyone has to build a 1,000 crore, 5,000 crore kind of business and stuff, right? So see what works for you. If you're happy with say a 50 crore, 100 crore kind of business, which you're happy with, that's also perfectly fine. If you're focused on services, that's also fine. If you're focused on products, that's also fine. But be guided in terms of where your interest and expertise lies. how you really want to build it out, and what is the kind of structure and market you're building over, right? So in terms of ideation, the same thing, right? I mean, like, the basic foundation is, have you figured out the right kind of problem to really figure out, right? So the three components, right? The market, the team, and the product part of it. So market, if you're really looking at building a product which really can become a huge company in the days ahead, it's really figuring out, okay, is it a small subset of users who have this problem, or can we really take this solution to a larger subset of users, and that way, so which is basically the market part of it, right? And then the second foundational thing is the team part of it. So are you building a team where, again, you are able to have a healthy discussion in terms of not everyone agreeing with you, but you're able to really ideate cross-functionally, right? That's super important when you're building a good product, because if everyone is, has the same skill set, everyone is saying yes all the time, I mean, like, eventually the no will come from the customer side, right? So the thing is, really ideating, really debating, really building a strong product, actually plan for failure. So before you go to the market, you have to make the product fail within the office at least 10 times, right? So ठीक है, क्योंकि customer जो है, उनके पास attention span, they don't really have a lot of attention span. Once the product is in front of the customer, they might give it one chance or two chances. But if your product doesn't really work for them in that one or two chance, then I mean, like, it's very difficult to again get that attention again. So make sure that you're really tackling all the weak points in the office itself before you even get in front of a customer. And then the next stage is, again, like I said, be very mindful in terms of if you're really looking at the fundraising part also. So if it's a service-based business, it's very difficult to, I mean, like, until you get to a stage of at least 200 crores or 300 crores and so on and so forth to really, I mean, like, raise funding, right? So if you're building because we have some companies coming in just next month, they've hit, 22 crores and all, and now they're pivoting to the product part of it, simply because they understand that, it's very difficult to really raise funding and get to the next levels of 1,000 crore or, 2,000 crore kind of gameplay. So again, but if you're happy with that kind of thing and that's what you're looking for, that's perfectly fine, right? You don't have to do the same thing that everyone on TV is doing or what you're being sold, right? So if you're happy with, 20 CR, 50 CR, 100 CR, that's also perfectly fine. And, services businesses gives you joy, that's also perfectly fine. But if you're looking at a fundraising kind of journey, it's more about product, which can be scaled super fast, probably for India and probably later, even going outside the borders. So that would be a bit more. And then again, the foundational aspects in terms of team building, ensuring you have the right kind of understandings with your team. These things we don't talk about, but a lot of failure is also because the team members might not be really aligned, right? So and that's perfectly fine, because I mean, like, visions change and all those things change, but just having a healthy understanding in terms of having, say, something like a cliff or having vested equity and all those things, it ensures that you have a fair understanding in terms of when you're building the company. So everyone is coming in with the right intentions. It's perfectly fine if some of the things don't work out, but everyone feels fair that everyone has been treated fairly and they're building the company fairly.
Right, sir. So once we've started building a company, what advice would you give for navigating the challenges which early startups usually face, along with in terms of funding and team building?
So I'll start with team building, because team building comes before the fundraising part, right? So team building, like I said, I mean, like, go all out, right? So try to get the best possible people on your team with, I mean, like, the varied components that you require in terms of building a company, right? So not everyone having the same skill set really works. So if you need your different components, in terms of, so if you look at a product company like Steve Jobs said it, right? One guy to build the product, one guy to sell the product. That's like one of the easiest definitions out there. But also beyond that, right? So I mean, like, looking at the core components in terms of legal, accounts, ensuring that if you're building something which has a lot of regulation oversight kind of thing, you're optimizing the company to ensure that you're complying correctly. You're not really, I mean, like, attracting the wrong kind of attention. And so that would be it in terms of team building. And then again, having the right kind of conversations from the very start, right? So ensuring that you have something like a cliff, having vesting options, having all the difficult conversations before the get-go. The reason simply being, it's good to have the difficult conversations before, rather than, I mean, like, say that, yaar, ye humne plan nahi kiya tha, ya wo humne plan nahi kiya tha, and then, I mean, like, have disagreements which could have been totally and amicably really taken care of. In terms of fundraising, I would say the best thing which works for your company is this the early stage traction, right? So if you can showcase traction in terms of whatever you're building, and again, very specific to the markets, very specific to the investors you're reaching out, then what kind of traction can you really showcase in terms of the revenues, or in terms of the users, in terms of the kind of advertising revenue which is coming in, whatever it is, right? Again, very, very specific, or the time the users are spending on your platform, and that's how you would really ideally plan for it. And once you have the initial traction, then really looking at how can you with each fundraise bring down the risk for your company, right? So it can be something like as easy as if another competitor might be there in the market, so how do you really take that on, or someone or you're looking at another market, if you're expanding over there, what are the things you require? So all those different things which are there.
Right, sir. Another buzzword which is very popular in the startup ecosystem is innovation. So, sir, how do you define innovation in the context of startups, and what strategies can founders use to foster an innovative culture in their own team?
So innovation, I would very loosely define as anything and everything which makes things better, right? So it can be a process innovation, it can be a business model innovation, it can be a product innovation, it can be something which might either augment the current offerings in the market, or it might totally disrupt what's already there in the market. So anything and everything which makes things better via the different functions, I would say that that would be innovation of its kind. In terms of really looking at building an innovative culture and building that innovation mindset, I would say we don't really have to work super hard on this. So if you, from the get-go, if you building the blocks correctly, so the first building block would be just hiring, right? So if you're building the team, the very first component which comes in the hiring part of it. So in the hiring part itself, if you get on board team members who are naturally curious, who are naturally problem solvers in their respective domains, right? So again, like I said, someone would be working on the product side of it, someone would be working on the business side of it, someone would be innovating on the finance side of it, someone else would be really looking at the legal structures and all those different things, right? So if you get on board problem solvers, that's like half your problem already mitigated, because you don't have to figure out, okay, if someone is already on the team, how do we make them more innovative? You've already got problem solvers on your team. And then the next thing is cross-functional exposure, because if you look at some of the best companies out there, these are people who are not working in silos, but they're working together to really help improve the product. So if it's a technical product also, you have inputs coming in from the sales team, marketing team, you have the business model also team looking at it, and this is all the initial stage before you even put together the company, right? So the cross-functional discussions and transparency and the collaboration part which is there, that's something which you have to really work hard on. And giving a sense of fairness, treating everyone well, not going by hierarchy. So you would have heard of principles like someone who's like super junior on the team, you ensure that they have the first go and then you speak last, right? And ensuring that you are not dismissing ideas simply because because of hierarchy, because best ideas can come from anywhere. And just ensuring also the practice of encouraging, say if some things don't go right, that's also perfectly fine, because that's how things happen in companies, right? So encouraging any kind of mistakes and all. So if you look at even Amazon, they have a policy that, okay, if an Amazon Fire doesn't work out, something like an Amazon AWS will work out. So just ensuring and ensuring merit wins over hierarchy, ensuring good team members, trying to get on board the best of the best guys on team, ensuring you have a good environment where people can speak freely, innovate freely. I think that would really help.
Right. So you talked about Amazon. Amazon is a very large conglomerate in the tech industry. And in the tech industry, we have this upcoming technology called artificial intelligence and machine learning. So how are these two terms, AI and ML, reshaping entrepreneurship, and what opportunities does it offer for startups across industries?
So artificial intelligence and machine learning is something which is now omnipresent, right? So you look at anything and everything, it is going to be shaped by AI. And one of the main things that you have to look at is how can you work with AI and not against AI? Because if you can work with AI, you become one of the few individuals or organizations who can survive despite AI being there. So AI is being used everywhere in startups, right? You look at content, it's omnipresent, be it something like Canva for design, or for coding, or if you have something for videos generation and all those things, it's there. For personalization, it's already there, where if you have an e-commerce platform, or if it's healthcare, or if it's entertainment, like Netflix, right? So based on your past watch list, it will be able to recommend some of the next recommendations which are there. And in terms of analytics and decision making, also it's really making, because it has the ability to really, make sense of a lot of data in a very short span of time, which would be very difficult. So something which might take 6 months might take now only a week, or maybe even less. And ensuring that you become comfortable, and you don't have to do everything yourself, right? So again, just getting the right kind of people who are like adaptive, who are problem solvers, who can start using AI, and just ensuring that you're able to do this. Having said that, just yesterday I had a conversation with one of the, and most of the legacy businesses are going to get impacted, right? So I had the conversation with one of the incredible entrepreneurs who's already built, a 5 CR on just one division, which is a legacy, services kind of thing. And we were having a discussion, okay, how can you, productize and, take it to something like a $10 billion play like a Canva. And he's being mentored by one of the, former advisors to one of the richest, families in India and all. So it is inevitable, right? So if there are, legacy companies like, in the services business where, you can build a product where, you can bring down the cost by say 95% or 99%, and you can democratize the access to products to not just the, say, someone who can afford a 1 CR to 10 CR kind of media ad, right? And you can bring down the cost and figure out animation and all those things. There's a lot of scope for a lot of things which can happen. And this is across. This is just one example which I've shared. But if you have something where you can, really make something, bring down the cost, get the product in front of the customer, which the customer feels is like superb value for the cost that they're getting at, you have the chance to build something good.
Thank you so much, sir. We're done with questions from our side. The questions are now open for the audience to ask.
So once I have idea in my mind, how to brainstorm upon that? Like, is that idea validate for fundings and all? Like, is that a idea good for problem solving and sort of things?
So any company which is being built, forget fundraising part of it, right? So fundraising, to theek hai, we can look at it. But the main reason why you should be going after a problem is you're building something for the customer, right? So are you really able to solve for the problem part of it? If you're able to solve for the problem part of it, you'll be able to attract other people who can be on your team. You can figure out structures, right? So for example, the reason we say that, you should have a good team and be able to willing to partner in terms of shares and all those things is because, there's no loyalty in the market, right? So if anyone is any good at what they do, they can be poached by your competitors next second. But if you're building something which is super focused on the customer, you have a vision which says that, okay, we are going to be the best guys in the market. We have a right to win in terms of really building a good product. And if you're able to build that vision, you'll be able to attract the right kind of people to work with you, first things first. Second, you are working with the intent to really solve the problem for the customer. If the customer validates by either usage of your product, and then you can again figure out revenue models and stuff. It can be either pay, asking the customer to pay for it, or figuring out the advertisement revenue part of it, or whatever it is. If the customer is spending a lot of time on your platform and all, right, and all those things. And if you have those metrics coming up, and then finally, eventually, you can look at the fundraising part of it. It's very difficult to go and get the extremely good guys, and you want to ensure that at each and every stage you're getting the best guys on your team, be it your team players or be it the investors, or who can really make things happen. So I would say that the stages are fairly simple. If you have an idea, just try to make something out of it. It can be as simple as just typing out a few things and defining the problem further. Then creating a map. So I would not say draw out an entire business plan, because business plans, that's fine, all those things are there, but build out more like a business map, right? So what are the things, because if you're focusing on one problem, you usually find that you have to attack the problem from at least 8 to 10 dimensions in terms of really figuring out and getting a few things moving.
Instead, as sir suggested, you should go with a business map where for each node you should explore all vectors. Anybody else would like to ask a question?
Hello, sir. I want to ask that how to get the initial customers.
So this is, exactly, how you start off anything, right? So when you have nothing, how do you, really go about getting the first set? So don't be, limited by what you don't have, but be focused on what you have, when you're starting out, right? So when you're talking about the initial customers, you look at any of the case studies, it's simply, go door to door, simply ragda and all stuff, right? So you got your first product. Don't expect that people will be lining up simply because you got a great product. You have to ensure you get in front of your customers, you get your product out in front of customers, and there are multiple ways to do it depending upon the product part of it, right? So if you have a product which is focused on a certain section of customers, try to figure out, if it's a B2B business, try to figure out who are the decision makers, what are the problems, what would be a good pitch to get in front of them, what are they willing to pay for, can you work out a model where they don't have to pay something outright, right? So but at the same time, they're not risking any kind, if they have worries about privacy, or if they have worries about any kind of information or any kind of crucial information getting out. How can you basically bring down the worries of the customer in terms of giving you that initial trust, right? So if you have a product and there's already somewhere in the market, someone else in the market, how can you make it easier for them to just try it out? Is it a innovation on the business model where you say that, okay, here is something that you're paying for a fair bit, that's perfectly fine. We are here, we are doing something much better, but as a mark of goodwill to the customers, we are giving the first 6 months free, right? Or you really go after the first users. How can you empower the first users to become the ambassadors for your product? So if you look at something like Freeletics, right? So Freeletics is one of the platforms where you can actually have calisthenic workouts and all those things. So what they do is they've done some interesting stuff, and right now they're doing pretty well. I think it's a Europe-based company, right? So what they've done is, after getting the first initial set of customers, they have referral programs where they say that, if you have 5 or 6 people coming in because of you, you get your lifetime, Freeletics free. And which is interesting because you're going after the users who really value your product. So someone who actually uses it and they love it. And if people love your product, they're going to talk to their friends about it, because it's not, they're doing it, they're not getting any money for it, right? So they're simply getting a lifetime subscription. And if a lifetime subscription doesn't work for them, it's of no value to them. So figure out, how can you really create value for them to create that buzz, create that word of mouth. And then they also have other avenues where they actually promote some of the biggest users. So people who have gone through the transformations, right? So someone who might have, lost, I think, 20 pounds and, is pretty happy with the transformation. They'll say that, okay, this is the guy. They'll send it out to the entire subscriber network, which is a global network, saying that, okay, look at this case study. So making your users the stars, and they feel great about it. And then people say that, okay, here's a normal looking guy. He was able to put in some discipline really, and this app really worked for them. Let me give it a try. It's hardly anything. I get a discount and all that stuff, and let me do that. So multiple ways to figure out. And if you're targeting something like a B2C, I would say again, just grind, right? So if you hear about Mama Earth, how they started out, they actually went in front of departmental stores and they were giving out the first product samples. So don't worry about having everything at your disposal. Know that you need a flashy this or flashy that. Nothing at all. Everyone starts somewhere. Just get your product, build something good for the customer. That's non-negotiable. But all other things, it will keep getting better as you keep building and keep getting more people to join you, getting more capital into the company.
So sir, should family and friends be our first customers?
You can try, and like I said, invite criticism and be able to work on that criticism. So FFF, or what we say, friends, families and fools, right? That's what we say. They're going to be your biggest supporters in the first days, but be very careful of the feedback coming in. So as soon as possible, try to move away from that circle, because in the early days, because they like you, they love you, they're definitely going to support you and all those things are there. But try to get to the real customers, who are really going to pay you and they don't know you, right? And that's going to be the biggest validation of your product per se. So initial customers, yes, in terms of getting the feedback, and ask them to be brutally honest with you. Say that, what doesn't work. Because this is the time, like I said, working within the company before you get in front of your first serious customer. Customer attention is super limited, right? So you might get one chance and probably maybe a second chance, but rarely does it happen that you'll get a third chance. So the more things you're able to make and polish within internally before you get in front of your first customers, you work with your team, you work with your friends, you work with your family, and really ensure that you're working with the right mindset, that you're building this for a much larger base than your friends and family.
And sir, our strategy should be profit first, or earlier we can face losses in the business?
So I don't understand losses, right? So I always recommend that you try to figure out how can you extend the runway. And that's why it's wonderful to have all of you really working on tackling problems whilst you're in college, right? Or because time is on your side, right? So simple sa cheez hai ki as long as there is money in the bank, your dream is alive. The time the money stops, I mean, like, you have to be like, super serious in terms of, what's real and what's not. So I would say focus on different ways where you can extend the runway and keep your dream alive for the longest time, and focus on, how is it that you're really going to make things work. And it's perfectly fine if you figure out a proposition where, you build a platform, say, where you have a lot of user activity, people are using it, you're obviously complementing it with other revenue channels, or you're figuring out the funding part of it. WhatsApp is a wonderful example, right? So WhatsApp, just I think 19 to 30 member team, $17 billion acquisition by Facebook. That's superb, and they still don't charge, right? But now they have something like a WhatsApp for Business and all those things which are there. And so just be super focused in terms of, how you're planning for it, and how you're really going to extend the runway, keep the money in the bank. And there's no one way to it. So you might innovate and come out with something which no one has done in the world before. So just figure out different ways. How long can you keep your dream alive?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone, for asking questions. I hope the questions were able to cater to your needs, to the requirements which you have, and I hope everybody builds whatever they aspire to. Thank you so much again, sir, for coming. And I also thank the audience for coming and giving their time. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Arnav. Thank you, E-Cell DTU team. Keep up the great work.